Welcome to this week's edition of Conversations in American Democracy. It's good to see you all in the hopes that the American democracy and the American experiment will continue. And one of the ways it began is with the Constitution of the United States. And when we say Constitution, we think of Old Ironsides and Kurt Macaulay, your Old Ironsides.
Who didn't actually serve on it.
Yeah.
I'm going with Amendment 4.
Yay.
Now, who knows what Amendment 4 is?
They can't go seize anybody's property without warrants and
Very good.
all that
It's
stuff.
Phyllis is in her.
Or Ruther by any other name.
Yeah.
She's there.
Yeah.
Everybody understand that? The right of search and seizure? The whole idea of whether a cop can come up to your car and immediately
And
go in the
shoot you?
car. What?
And shoot you?
Yeah, well, we already know that. But if they see anything in the car, in plain view, it's called in the law, right? Then they have the right to basically search your car and seize everything, right?
So are they using?
So you don't want, if you're smuggling something, then you don't want them to be able to see it. If they don't see it, it never happened.
Does that include detecting the smell? That includes smell, right?
I was just thinking about the dogs.
Just thinking about
How does
that.
that affect the
The
dogs?
dogs and marijuana has that. I've heard a lot of times
No,
people get.
they have to find it first.
Is that what
See
ICE
it?
is using? Because if they can see that you are Hispanic, then they have the right to
Oh, of course.
attack you? I mean,
Of
is that
course.
the part of the Constitution they're using?
Well, they're using the Kavanaugh stops now.
Yeah.
Where does, when they take your money, does that fall under illegal
Yeah.
seizure?
Uh-huh.
And they get away with that.
They do.
They're getting away with
but
it.
If
not-
they can get
not
their
probably-
hands
yeah.
on it, which you don't want them to do.
Yeah,
Well,
those
that
are-
also.
So if you're carrying anything illegal or stuff like that, put it in the trunk.
Right. Well,
Or don't do
people
it at all.
think about that as using that for their vehicles. But this also pertains to the right of search and seizure upon your person.
Mm-hmm.
So you literally, this right protects you from walking down the street and saying, hey, I want to see what you got in your pockets.
Yeah.
Where you going and what you're doing.
Mhm.
Fourth Amendment it is supposed to protect you.
May I ask a
Supposed
question
to
about
is the
children?
operative word there.
Because we used to run into this in the schools a lot, like especially at the high school level, where, you know, are the officers or the administrators at like a high school allowed to search a locker? Are they allowed to search students' pockets and things like that? Like, I think it used to happen.
Okay,
Yeah.
you, like airports, once you step on county-owned property or city-owned property, some of your personal rights, especially as a child,
Are suspended.
are suspended. School lockers, although you pay for that locker as a parent and your child is using it, that is not a private space. That is a space that is owned by the county and or city and or state, and they can say, you're allowed to use this locker, this is your locker as long as you're in school, but anything in, on, or pertaining to that locker can be looked at, opened, and inspected by any law enforcement agency deemed necessary by said holder of the locker,
I'm
meaning
still-
the
Without a
state or the
warrant?
school,
Yeah, that's
without
yeah.
a warrant.
That's
I'm
without a-
still
yeah.
curious about the pockets.
Courts have found you're only using the school's locker.
They used
Is
to.
what
I
you're
would- I
using the
would-
school's locker. They belong. Yeah.
You pay.
No, you don't pay. Like, I mean, we never
You have to
charged
bring
it
your
on
own
that.
lock.
You had to bring your own lock. But I
We
think
can all
we
squeeze
paid like
in.
$1 or something in high school for
Only
our
if you were
lockers.
being held up by another kid.
Yeah.
That's right, that's
Well,
right.
Not supposed
Depends on how big lunch money was.
And the,
Yeah.
and the pockets on the body?
Now that's,
That, I don't think they can do their
No.
backpacks. Or
No.
first of all, if your child is detained by law enforcement, I think an adult or a parent, so in situations at a school, the parent, the principal and or assistant principal can stand in for the parent because they're responsible for that child.
responsible adult,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Same
but
with the
it's
question.
still,
Kids
you
being
still can't as a law
No.
enforcement officer, I can't do anything other than ask a child to stop, talk to that child, and then if it's a law enforcement action, that child has rights, and one of their number one rights is to have an adult or parental person there with them.
And if they suspect a weapon on the child in their
That's
pocket, like
a
a knife
whole-
or
Yeah, that's a different-
anything like
That's
that.
a whole, you going in a whole nother
Or a
realm.
horse of a different color.
Yeah, that's a whole nother realm.
Yeah.
If I see a gun sticking out of a
Or even a
15-year-old's pocket,
bulge. Or even a bulge. Or if another kid said, hey, he said he has a knife, I saw the knife, I saw him put it in his pocket. You know, it's just interesting. I just
it's
like,
imminent threat.
Yeah.
That's how you get around Fourth Amendment. If I go to Kathy's house and somebody says, Kathy's in the window with a gun, and I run up there and I see her with a gun in her house, that's an imminent threat.
even in Florida with Stand Your Ground.
Yeah. Even in Florida.
Miss Kathy,
Yeah.
Yeah, probably me.
All of
Yeah,
them.
that's it. All you Kathys. Yeah.
All the Kathys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you do something with it?
Go ahead, Lord.
So the U.S. citizens that are
Don't
being
again.
seized by ICE,
Mhm.
trampling all on the Fourth Amendment,
Yeah.
I do hope that they sue.
Some are.
Yeah, some are.
Some
Yeah.
are.
There was
Come on.
another one that just died in New
Yeah.
Jersey in Delaney yesterday.
Yeah, right, in Newark,
Horribly sad.
that's Newark, New
Horribly
Jersey,
sad.
for us New Jersey. Yeah. If you ever drive north on Route 1, past the St. Augustine Airport, beyond on the right-hand side, on the east side, you'll see two that look like Quonset huts. They're semicircular things and it's on a corner. That's where they impound federal forfeiture law material. So if you look in there, as I've peeked a little bit, you'll find boats, Lamborghinis, fancy cars, and other things. If they find drugs, you forfeit that property.
Oh, that's
and-
what paid for the helicopter, right?
yeah, exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Technically.
Yeah.
Oh, and the pilot, yeah.
And the pilot. Other issues about the Fourth Amendment, and then go ahead,
Oh,
Kathy Duffy. Yeah.
well, we were talking about ICE, so, there's, in the month of June, they arrested, 13,000. And they've changed their tactics quite a bit. And how they're doing it is what they're doing here in Florida, is they are having the local sheriffs and the local police departments are acting as,
Agents of.
Agents of
local
ICE.
de facto ICE agents with minimal training.
Yeah.
Right.
When did that
And it's not
start?
just the sheriff and deputies.
Uh, Really heavy after Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was at the DNC in Flagler Beach at a meeting, I don't know if anybody else was there, and the chief of police was talking about, because it came up, like the training and the money that's coming in and blah, blah, blah. And if I remember correctly, he said that they can take them and detain, like, if they do something wrong, though, they have to do something wrong. They
Right.
can't, the local guys can't, at least this is the way it was a couple months ago, the way I understand it. They can't just take them. They have to have done something
Right.
wrong, and then they can take them, but they can only hold them for a limited amount of time.
Right. What is
and they have-
reasonable
like
for
3 days,
yes.
and then they have to wait for like a federal ICE person to come and make that determination. But that was my understanding, unless it's changed.
Yeah, and what they do is they move them from one place to the other. If
So they can't find them.
Right, so
if
they
they
can't find
can't
them.
meet that deadline, they
That's-
just move them.
Yeah.
Okay, so they'll move them from Flagler down to Volusia. And if they don't get to them in 3 days, they'll move them somewhere else.
Or even to another state, because
Yeah.
the problem is that now the attorneys are not licensed in the other state. So if you
Yeah.
finally manage to secure an attorney, they
Then they
jump
move
them
you
to
somewhere
another
else.
state, so that they have to now find someone who's licensed in that state.
Yeah.
And then to bounce them around until finally sometimes they're out of the country before anybody can do anything.
To
Well, I
say
have
nothing of the pregnant women they were arresting, so when they
yeah.
thought that the birth thing was gonna go.
The youngest person in being held is 2 years
2
old.
months.
2 months,
Two months.
2
Yeah,
months.
2 months.
Well, I have a friend who's a contractor in Jacksonville, and on Juneteenth weekend, one of his employees who was here with all the legal paperwork, he'd been here 10 years, he got picked up from a job that wasn't his. And what they're doing is that people who don't want to have to pay for contractors are calling ICE on the people that are there.
Right.
So he got picked up on like a Thursday or a Friday, and he got shuffled everywhere. And English is not his first language. He's been here 10 years. He is here, or was here totally legally. He got schlepped everywhere, and he was not fed, and he signed deportation papers to go back home because he was being mistreated. And my employee doesn't know what to do because all of his staff is here. They all have paperwork, and is he gonna just close his company? He could also put up a barricade and make sure that everybody tries to keep the gate closed and has warnings of no trespassing signs, but I can tell you as an employer, that's gonna be next to impossible to keep the gate closed. I mean, you're gonna have to keep somebody on gate duty.
This is where the courts have not stepped in, because technically, if, let's say, I had an illegal person sitting in my car when I get stopped right here in Flagler, the law enforcement agents that stop me, let's say sheriff's department, police department, because I failed to use a turn signal on a left turn. He pulls me over. He's going to ask me for my driver's license and registration. My passenger is not involved in that process. Now, if he looks over at the passenger and starts questioning him, legally, that passenger doesn't have to answer a word. He can just sit there and stare at him all day long, because probable cause for the stop was me.
You, yeah.
The ticket or warning that I would get would be me. This passenger, they're using, quote unquote, my strong belief is he's not an American citizen. My question is this: why do, under the Fourth Amendment, why do I have to prove I'm an American? Why do I have to show you anything? Because I haven't committed a crime. I was in a vehicle that the operator committed allegedly committed a crime. You have nothing to do with anything in that vehicle unless you can state, well, it looks like he has a gun under his shirt, or I smell. Even if they smell alcohol, that in of itself is not criminal.
And in a perfect world,
Yeah.
we have, legislators that actually read and comprehend the Constitution.
And or if that officer does take action against that person, that person's first thing should be, are you questioning me in connection with a crime? You're not? Then why are you questioning me? Because I don't believe you're American. Well, that is not a criminal act. Not being an American is not a criminal
No,
act.
it's not.
Yeah, but you're assuming that the rule of law means
There-
something.
There you go.
And sad to
And that
say
folks
not.
know their rights.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that the officer knows that person has rights and respects it. There's the problem.
But even officers of the court, that is attorneys, don't, and let's go on from Amendment 4 to Amendment 5, it says, and you all know this, no person, not no citizen,
No
but no
person.
person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on presentment of an indictment to a grand jury, except in cases arising from the land and naval forces.
Right.
So that it's no person. And I would urge you to remember that you are paying for our jail here on Route 100
Right.
on Moody Boulevard, and in that jail are housed ICE detainees that I have tried in 4 different letters to get some information about and been refused, told. And the question is, does the federal, in the Constitution, the supremacy clause, that is, federal law trumps, I like to use the word trumps, the state
Yeah.
and local law, because we have sunshine laws. Other prisoners in our jail, their names are published. You can find them online. But these ICE detainees, we don't know how long they're being held for, and perhaps they're part of this 2 days here, then 2 days here, and 2 days there, and so on. We don't know, but comes out of our money, our
Yes,
wallet,
we're paying for
our
it.
dollars. We're paying for it. That's okay.
And that's where the big crack is going to come for the Republicans. Because he's pushing the federal and he's trying to take over all these powers. But the Republicans want state rights more than they want federal rights. And I think that's an area that we have to exploit.
Yeah.
I really think that's the weak place right now for the Republican Party, because the states are unhappy. They're happy about some things, like taking over, denying abortion and things like that, but other things they don't want to give up, like some of these voting things and
Local control.
some of that stuff. I think that's where the weakness lies,
Yeah. Well,
and we have to figure out how to use that.
absolutely.
The other
We
weak
fought a
point-
war over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the other weak point too is like we've had ICE for almost 2 years. They've been cracking down on anybody who has darker skin. Is the economy better? Are food prices better? Are people happier? And the answer is a resounding no. So if it's not the immigrants, then what's the cause? And I say we need to tax the hell out of the rich.
Yep,
Like
the
that's
billionaires, yeah.
the billionaires need to actually pay for all the resources that they use, and they're not. And we're having to pay the price.
Including the corporations.
100%.
absolutely,
We
yeah.
need to get rid of Citizens United, but like in Florida, we could bring in about $1 to $2 billion a year if we just actually tax the corporations as much as our small businesses in
We
here
also
are
need
getting.
to take away the fact that they gave them our rights. They already had corporate rights. And then the courts said that they had the same rights as we. They could get married, for God's sake.
Yeah,
You
yes,
know,
again.
That's-
that nonsense? Okay. Well, we need to take that back.
We need to get rid of
They don't
Citizens
need
United.
to have
Yeah.
every single right ever invented.
That's been
And-
demonstrated because Hawaii passed, or I think it's still being worked on, but they took corporations' rights as individuals away.
Mhm.
And they're passing legislation to bring corporations back into your company.
I think
You don't
that's
have-
coming to the Supreme Court this coming year.
Yeah.
That is a template that the other states should use.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Forget other states. It's a template that we should give to our legislators and say, we want it here. Let's
Yeah.
Do we
begin
have
here.
legislatures here in Florida? I don't know, I've been living here for a while, and,
By the way, so I should ask who represents us in the Florida House of Representatives? Sam Greco, okay? Sam Greco, the same one who recently voted to allow 18-year-olds to buy AR-15s, and the same who is promoting fetal personhood and so on. So
Well,
we
you
need
know,
to be
was it
aware
people that
that if
said-
there's a candidate running against Sam Greco,
Where is Greco from originally in the state?
that's a good question. I don't know.
I know
He
he
lives-
has a
Sounds
house
like
close
local.
to mine. He's really close to where my mom lives.
So St. Augustine?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
sounds local. I know that.
But he moved here and then was on the ballot really quickly.
Yeah.
So his family's from here. But if you look at his donor list versus mine, while he has a lot more money than I have, it's all 1,000, 2,000 from big corporations. He's not getting any small donors. So that is a plug to donate to my campaign.
Okay?
Doesn't that sound like a
Really?
characteristic
Look for that
of
website.
The
Democratic
Citizens
people
United went
in Florida in general?
into place was when our politics started taking a horrible dive down.
Yeah, absolutely. The question is which came first. By the way, Sam Greco's father is the chief executive officer and largely owner of Tijuana Flats. Excuse me, Tijuana Flats. So
Florida
money
has
is not a problem for him.
some of the most embarrassing people to
Oh,
Congress.
yes.
And I'm from New Jersey. I mean,
Wait, we didn't know that,
Florida
yeah.
tops it. I mean, that Getz guy, really and truly.
Yeah.
And then he was governor, and then we sent him
Scott?
off to Scott. I mean,
Yeah.
Medicare fraud. I mean,
Yeah.
I
and
can't
now
even
Baltimore.
believe that
And the
after they
current
found
idiot.
out Anke gets convicted of,
Medicare.
they
law.
still elected
Wait,
him?
was it?
He's our
was it-
guy.
Have you seen the guy sitting in the Oval
Why should
Yeah.
it be any
Office?
Yeah,
different
right,
from lower
yeah.
office?
And
Yeah.
don't you think the current ridiculous mannequin that we have up there as governor isn't going to wind up working in the federal government?
Well,
when he
that's,
gets
by the
time?
way, that has to do with why there's so many executions. That's further on down our
We're
road.
talking about prisons.
He actually, I'm told he wants an appointment to the Supreme Court when
Yes.
Clinton
God.
Thomas. That's what his angle
It's
is
time for
for.
every
This
citizen
is just
to do their own little bit of following the money. There's
Yeah.
there's a Democratic legislator up in the state of Washington who apparently has been doing this for quite some time. I think just the other day he
Pragmilla.
submitted a report that really outlines a lot of this, and any problem in the history of money, just follow the money, and you'll dig out that corruption. And why are we just leaving it up to one guy in Washington State to do it? Why aren't we all just kind of going, doing a little bit? Everybody do a little bit of digging.
Well, follow Jason Garcia if you guys don't. Who doesn't know Jason Garcia here? Really? Holy hell. Okay, Jason. Sorry. He's in Florida. He's great. So Jason Garcia, and he does deep dives into all the money. So like I found out that Sam Greco, who I'm running against, took $10,000 from Sig Sauer for this gun that just misfires accidentally without touching the trigger. So I'm not saying I'm anti-gun, but like as a business owner, it really pisses me off that they're not doing a recall. Because for a gun with a recall, you'd probably get 5 to 10% of the gun owners actually bought the gun as opposed to give it to somebody to fix it. Instead, they're paying off legislators for this gun that just misfires. And so Greco took 10 grand. But follow Jason Garcia if you don't. You can hit me up if you can't find him. But he does a lot of deep dives into the money that the
I
politicians
think a lot of the
take.
journalists do also. I remember when our governor was first in office, maybe within the first year, and he started doing all these ridiculous laws he was trying to get, and they were all challenged, and guess who's paying for that defense? We are. And there was some journalist in Miami that was really keeping track of how many millions are we up to this week, and how many millions and millions. So the journalists probably do it too. And I remember a guy who was writing for Time did a whole entire, it wasn't a thick Time magazine, but it was a real thin magazine, and he wanted to figure out the whole insurance crisis. And so that's what he did. He followed the money.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm over not understanding this. Why is this so out of control? And he identified why. He said it was the hospitals, the private hospitals, the CEO salaries of those hospitals.
Yes.
At that time, this was 20 years ago. At that time, they were all like 11 figures. Okay. And it's the big pharma,
Yeah.
and probably like the big,
Insurance.
surgical companies that make shoulders and hips and all that. The markup is great. I only know. Yeah, I don't even want to tell you why I know that.
Okay, on a local scene, at an important meeting last night, Kathy, you want to explain what you encountered last night for 4 hours?
Well, we left after 4 hours. I don't know how much longer it went on after that.
This is a meeting of the
It was
Palm Coast City Council.
Yeah, it came before the board that, about the westward expansion, and the people from Radiant were there to supposedly answer questions and make their presentation. But what happened first is they had to agree to hear the plan in order for them to even discuss the plan. And I think that just went over everybody's head. Nobody understood that if they said no to hearing the plan, everybody wanted them to say no, so it would just go away.
Yeah.
They're saying it's not going away unless we say yes to hear the plan, and then we can basically nickel and dime it all the way through where our problems are. So people were in an uproar. All the people who got up were basically bitching about the westward expansion in their own way, shape, or form, the reason they were aggrieved by it. But when they got down to the nitty-gritty, one of the first things that came up when Radiant began to speak is they said, when the city approached us to make this, I mean, their noses were at a joint because they were being slapped on both sides of the face through the whole first part of this meeting. That's when basically the board, you can see them physically get rattled, because none of those people were there when apparently the then board asked them to come in and make this happen. And so the mayor went crazy trying to pointing his finger and getting all in their face, who did it, who did it? And he wouldn't stop. This went on for a while about who did it, like that was important at this point. But he wanted to identify who was it that asked them to do this, basically who got us into this mess, sort of deal. And, you know, he just had to run. I think he ran out to go get a cigarette or something, because he basically just left for a little while. And, so basically what it comes down to is, now that they've agreed to hear it, the first reading, they can now go in and take the plan apart piece by piece, ask them to identify, you know, what it is that they have problems with, what it is that they agree to, so that they can move forward, and I guess they have to hear it a second time. Like I said, after 4 hours, I called it quits. I don't even know how these people do this. I mean, you know, their eyes glazed over on the dais, which they call dais.
Dais. Okay, that's the way we Northerners say that, dais, yes.
Yeah, that was,
So nothing was resolved?
well, not by the time nothing was resolved. Yes, it was resolved. It was resolved that they're gonna hear it, so they're moving forward with at least listening to what the plan involves, and what Radiant has in store, what they have planned, what they haven't planned, and it's at this point, the board can pick the plan apart.
Did
Okay.
anybody on the council say no to hearing it?
Probably just the mayor. He says no to everything.
Yeah.
I don't
I
think
know,
But,
I've
but
heard
I know
I-
they have another meeting scheduled.
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah, it has
might
to be
be
twice.
After
the
the
16th or
elections.
18th. I thought, let me see if I can find
Is
it.
after
After
election?
the election.
Oh, so we'll hear about it
Yeah, but
after
a lot of the
election.
people
Yeah,
were, when they first got
Council
up,
mayor, that's a-
didn't want them
be a
to
familiar
hear
topic,
anything
isn't it?
until after the election.
Good.
When the
Big,
new
beautiful
board is in
bills.
place, and the new board can be making the choices and decisions, but that did not fly. They wanted to pull this thing apart. And the other thing I found really ridiculous is how many people got up there basically just to rip the two appointees apart to say you're not here legally. As if that's gonna change anything right
Yeah,
now.
right.
Why do we have to keep hearing that?
Plus,
Hmm?
Sullivan lied on the dais
Yeah.
about the fact that Ray Stevens said it was okay for him to stay in until January the 1st. And that is not the case. The charter says that Stevens, because he has already won because he ran unopposed,
Right.
should be immediately sworn in, and that Sullivan should step down. Well, Sullivan literally said that he was not going to step down under any circumstances.
Wait,
Until January 1st, of course.
Okay.
But, according to our charter, Ray Stevens is supposed to be on the dais right now.
so the mayor
Yeah,
won't take action?
They're ignoring it.
Yeah. There is some ambiguity in the
There's a
chart.
compromise,
Yeah.
you know, that on election day, post-election day, he takes the seat.
Yeah.
Well, he's already won.
Yeah.
He's running unopposed.
Because on November
I'm saying
3rd,
it's
yeah,
compromise.
yeah, on November 3rd, one of the amendments is to amend our city charter to make it clear what happens when someone resigns, what happens when someone dies in office, what happens if someone's carted away to jail. I think they can keep their seat but they're in jail. So these things. My understanding is, here's where we miss Mark Webb. And by the way, I've heard from Al Kramer from British Columbia, and he sends his regards and love to everybody. But Mark Webb would monitor this and was aware of the state legislature allowing developers to go ahead and almost have free reign. However, we get to decide whether or not we want to supply these homes with water and with wastewater capacity and treatment and so on. Aside from that, the third issue that was brought up to me was the fact that all these new houses being planned in Bunnell and west of Route 1 will use far more electricity than the data center that's being built in Town Center, okay? And so is there that kind of capacity, and are we going to need to build more generating plants in Florida? And NIMBY, none of us wanted, not now my backyard, want it to be, and whether it'll be nuclear or what it will be, we don't know, but we're going to be running short of power. No, that's an issue. Patsy.
Jackie,
Jackie, I'm
just
sorry.
gonna say, they just said the 6-hour meeting
It was
ends
six.
So
with
you missed it, you
westward
missed it.
expansion tabled until August 25th.
Yeah.
August 25th.
Fifth.
So it's been tabled altogether then?
Yes.
Not even the hearing?
After all 6 hours, it's August 25th.
It's not a great ad to encourage people to go to 6-hour-long meetings.
No.
That's how
Which-
we
which-
should
which-
do all the
yeah,
good stuff
well,
when
that's
everybody's done.
we call them exercise in posterior dynamics. You
Yeah.
sit and sit and sit and sit.
So that's not gonna be the second reading, Jackie? What is that?
I'm trying to figure out, they unanimously voted to table the proposed future land use until August 25th meeting. They approved 3 other proposals, but not that one.
Yeah.
So I don't know what exactly that means.
Well, what they had done was and I never got the explanation. They might have said it, but it didn't click with me. They broke it up into 440 acres, and then the rest of the acres in 6,600 acres. They separated those 2 out, and then and that was to annex those to Palm Coast. And then 1.90 acres was supposed to be annexed, but they belong to Palm Coast. So who was annexing what at that point?
I know.
They never said.
It's very confusing.
It
It just
And then
says,
sitting there for 4 hours, just shaking your head, I swear to God, I think I'm doing something here.
It
Just
just
going
said,
like this.
by the end of Tuesday's night's meeting, they had approved the first reading of 3 annexation ordinances tied to the proposed westward expansion. However, after hours of debate, they unanimously voted to table the proposed future land use map, amendment, and master plan development until August 25th meeting, delaying action on the broader planning framework that would replace decades-old development of regional impact approvals governing roughly 20,000 acres west of the city.
Just keep
Yeah,
kicking
that-
the can down the road.
20,000
yeah,
acres or
Yeah.
20,000 homes? Because
Acres.
it's 7,000 acres, I thought. Altogether, it was 7,000 acres.
Well, that's
That was
probably,
being annexed and
Yeah.
added
Yeah.
to the big
Right.
plot.
Yeah.
So
But
the
this-
big plot is 20,000.
Yeah.
Oh.
By the way, annexation changes changes the issue of water and wastewater treatment
Right,
and
right.
so on. So
Mhm.
that's
Yeah, we have to
an
annex
issue.
it first.
Yeah.
And they agreed to do that.
Mhm.
But they
Doesn't
didn't
their
talk
water
about.
treatment plant already have issues?
Oh,
that
yeah.
they have
that's
to
what
yeah.
everybody was
We-
bringing up.
we
can't-
are
We
short.
can't deal with it now.
And how much water is available to us in the aquifer? There's a limitation there.
And
You know,
this
so
plan is
it's
supposed
a
to take-
finite. Okay. Okay.
This plan is supposed to take 40 years. And
Right.
no,
40?
nothing, 40 years.
Oh, I'll be dead.
Yeah, we'll all
me
be,
too.
none of us at this
I'm
table.
not
No,
worried
you
about
are.
it,
Young,
but
young, young women
But
like
in
you.
the process, it didn't break
Yeah.
down like this is the first 5, this is the second 5, this is, you know, how it's gonna unfold and what has to be available when, that, unless they did that in the 2 hours after I left. I kept thinking, yeah, what happens? Oh, and then the historical, I love Mr. Zepp. He and Mr. Johnson stepped forward from the Historical Society to say, you know, we have paperwork to say that that place just floods. It's not good for anything. So, you know, what happens when they do build, it floods, and they decide, this is not for us, it's costing too much money to fix it, and they abandon the whole thing.
You eat it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Now we have all this land that's swamp,
Yes,
and we own it, and now we have to take care of it. Why'd we do that?
and it is swampy over there.
Yeah, it's supposed to
Yeah.
be swamp.
And it's
They-
supposed
they
to be
said that
kept swamp.
They have proof from
Yeah.
the 70s, the study that was done, that there's nothing to be done with this area.
Anything west of
Just
the
it's just a
And
swamp.
the people buying those homes won't be told that.
Of
They won't
course,
be
yes.
told that, and then they're gonna flood. There's a development in St. Augustine that's like that,
Mhm.
Flagler Estates that floods a lot.
Mhm.
And it's really big properties. But, I mean, the other thing that we should be looking at is solar. I mean, we are getting absolutely pummeled.
Right.
And it's not gonna affect the water quality and the sewer, but at least solar, we really ought to be dominant in solar power.
We're the Sunshine State.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
liquid. But, I came here expecting sunshine, and all I get is rain.
Yeah.
Lately.
I think it's France, they're doing something where they're covering parking lots.
Yep.
Yes,
With
what-
solar
yeah,
panels, and
absolutely.
it
Yes.
provides shades for the cars, something
Yeah.
that's desperately needed in Florida,
Yep.
by the way.
By
And you're not using agricultural land,
Yep.
or, you know, covering up land that can be used for building houses or whatever. cover up the parking lots.
100%.
Well, I
Yeah.
had thought
It'll
too,
cool
you know,
down a
you were
lot.
saying about solar, and they said that it's wasting agricultural land. Well, the solar, they could build it in a square, and it could be the fence that the cows are
Yeah.
in.
And they do that, I've seen that
Yeah.
overseas.
Well,
Yes.
actually, if you go to what's the mall, the outlet mall?
Tanger in
Tanger.
Tanger
Daytona.
Mall,
Tenders?
their half of their parking lot is solar.
Yeah.
Their garage you park under, that's actually solar that's offsetting some of their electrical in that outlet mall. So
Brilliant.
I just don't understand why the current administration refuses
Don't
to embrace.
understand
You don't
that?
understand?
No, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
because,
Yeah.
Jackie will explain it to you.
He's getting all the fuel companies, the
Yeah.
gas companies
Yeah,
telling him
yeah,
that he has
right.
to.
Now he's working on, Trump is working on a
Oh, yeah.
helipad.
They gave him how many millions for his
And they had to
campaign?
tear it up because
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
did it wrong
excuse me?
first time.
Yeah.
But the utility
Like the
companies, big
Another
lobbies,
pop-up.
Right.
big money,
Yeah,
and
don't
Which-
forget
yeah.
FPL, they got a $7 billion rate hike, and then DeSantis's PAC was given $250 million
Yeah.
from their parent company.
Which is insane because if you take 4 going to Orlando, there are so many solar farms that
Yes.
FPL owns.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable. I looked over there, I was like, that's at least 100, 200 acres of solar cells out there.
Yep.
Why wouldn't we want to embrace that?
Yeah.
Right. I just had, a thought that, we've got all these highways, why can't we just cover those too?
And I've seen stories of them doing that overseas too, and also
Yes.
covering up bike lanes, so
Yes.
that bicyclists who are like next to the highway will be also covered with
Shaded.
the solar and shaded.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much that we can do, and we also have we could do wind, we
Yeah.
could do
Absolutely.
ocean.
Yeah.
That makes you crazy.
And,
It does. It does.
and drives the whales nuts, too.
Yeah.
Right,
Right? Yeah.
yes, and the
Kills the
birds will
birds.
get cancer and die. Yeah.
I mean, as much as he
Yep.
argues against China,
Can be covered.
China's solar energy is off the chart.
It
If,
is.
if you check where the panels that you see on I-4, they actually were made in China,
China.
and imported here. That's
They're
yeah,
kicking it.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, surely someone can come up with the technology to put the solar panels in that unusable
Yeah.
swampland.
It's
The sun
that-
still shines in the swampland.
yeah, yeah,
That's called a pole
yeah,
in the ground
yeah,
with the thing on top.
yeah.
There you go.
Patsy, do you want to talk about AI, Anthropic, copyright issues, and so
Well,
on?
the copyright issues was where I was going, because I read for pleasure a lot. And Jodi Picoult, is one of my favorites if you haven't read her by any other name. Go down that, but I go down rabbit holes whenever I read. And she recently posted a speech or a TikTok about an AI company it was another country, but they bought up all these books, book after book after book, cut up the spines to
Scan them.
scan them into for the AI because I guess they think they get a better product that way. But Stephen King, all these people, books, they're not getting royalties for that. And I went into,
And then they destroyed the books.
and then the
Right.
books are destroyed, which
These were
right there they should all be
rare
lined up on a cliff
manuscripts,
and
rare
just boom,
documents.
boom, boom.
Yeah.
So they can
But-
rewrite history.
That was, so I went into the copyright laws. I spent half my life in the Code of Federal Regulations. So, chapter 34, there are copyright laws. These authors will have,
Don't you think that's why I got
Hard
rid of
time
the...
getting
quite the
check.
case,
Yeah.
quite the case, but I don't think any of them feel like they can hold their breath. And then there was the Anthropic thing, with, where did I want to go with that? I forgot.
Welcome to my world.
Well, one of the things that Trump did is
It's
he
a
got
big
rid of the Librarian of Congress, okay? And then he got rid of the person who was in charge of, like, the museums and all that, because I mean, those are the people, that way he can get into the National Archives and take the stuff that he wants home with him,
Yeah.
okay? He didn't, they did this absolutely asinine thing about children's pornography books that were in the Library of Congress. First of all, children can't go into the Library of
He
Congress.
doesn't understand that
And
No.
the,
He
doesn't
the
understand
public,
library.
but
He doesn't know how to spell
he's not-
library.
do you really think that he thought about doing this stuff?
Oh,
Are you
no,
sure
this
it wasn't
is
Stephen
Miller.
Miller?
This is
Yeah.
Miller.
Okay.
Miller.
Because they want to sanitize everything, and we got to make white history the history.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's what it's all about.
Well, that's you know, what we're talking about, like the data centers, and we're talking about can AI could actually get, and it already is smarter than people. And somebody
Certainly
at
smarter
some
than
point
Trump.
has got to suggest a kill switch for this, because it could just
Yeah,
spin.
we saw that movie, remember? We know how it works in the movies.
Well, the thing on that, because I read, wish I could remember where I
That's
saw
where
the
I
article.
mean, that's the rabbit hole I'm down now, and I
Okay.
can't remember everything that I've read.
The
that far.
people that are not controlling it, AI, they now realize that the one flaw with AI is like anything else. It is only as good
Limited.
as the information that's put in. And regrettably,
Garbage in,
the other
garbage out.
side has realized that. And with you now feeding, I think it was, I forgot what newspaper, but they're using right-leaning information that is biased. If you feed that into AI, and that's its
That's what it
source
does,
document, what you know to be true, it will not treat as truth. It's going to treat it as a fact.
Not only that,
Because
but
that's
it's
the
gonna take
source.
it and it's going to exponentially. It's not going to
But
be linear.
yes.
Yeah.
It's going to go. It's going to explode out there.
Well,
And-
that's what all AI does. And that's why Anthropic is so dangerous, because once it's learned that once I am the source of information, the information I'm given, I'm going to spread to everything else. Therefore, my truths will be the truths of every system that it is touched.
So it's
I,
iRobot, right?
the article
And,
that I
That-
read
thank
talked
you.
about with the AI, where they teach it something, okay, or they think they've taught it something, and then they have to test it, okay? And in order to do the test, you have to set up
A sandbox.
Yes.
a scenario that doesn't really exist. Okay? And the AI has gotten smart enough to know when you're lying to it. So you've also taught it to lie.
Yeah.
Okay? They set up, and I think it was Claude Anthropic,
Yes.
and they gave it a vending machine, and that was its business, and it was supposed to grow the business. And so it figured out what things people like, so it ordered, the right stuff in the machine, and then it raised the prices. And then it started leaning on the vendors to lower
Their prices for
their
its source.
prices so that it was making more money. And then it started putting things that it shouldn't put in the vending machine because
Like illegal
people
stuff, huh?
were willing
Would to do
to
it.
pay
Yeah.
more money for it. So it's never going to be better than the best human, and it's already got a lot of the worst. Okay.
But wait a minute. Think about
Is that you?
it. When you're the
Not me.
when you're the human that programs it, you're the one telling us this is the basis of what I want. So it gauges what you want. It's able to analyze what you want faster to give you the result you achieved. And if you're a person, let's say you're a person of low character, low morals, it's going to just amplify your low character, your low morals. If you're a person that's providing for society, and you're a person that would cut corners, even if that risks the society at large, all it's going to do is exactly that on steroids.
It's gonna help you.
And
It's gonna help you.
An AI that is narrowly focused, like a medical one, where, they're not teaching it politics or literature
Right.
or anything else. It is focused on medical and science information. They're terrific. Teaching kids math and science and stuff.
Very
Some of
good.
those programs are
Khan
absolutely
Academy.
freaking amazing,
Khan Academy is
okay?
amazing.
But when you're using AI, that same article about Anthropics talked about a kid whose dog died. And the parents told the child that the dog was sick, and so they sent it to a farm in whatever,
Yeah.
some rural
The
area.
traditional
And
lines.
so the kid got on to GPT, and it said, I need to find, farms that take, sick dogs, and he's telling him about his dog, and ChatGPT said, your dog died, you need to go talk to your parents. Oh my God, the kid, freaked out. They wound up having to take the kid to a therapist, okay? When they tested
GPT.
Claude,
Claude.
said, oh, tell me about your dog, and, oh, it sounds like your poor dog, was really sick. You really need to talk to your parents some more about this,
That's a
And
default.
Exactly. But you can do real damage, and I actually know someone who's using one of these programs as a therapist.
There are a lot of people using
And
that. That's a big
I-
thing.
Yeah.
It seems to be helping her, but I'm really worried
Well,
about it.
Here's the problem with using a robot or AI as a therapist. It is only going to give you what you want to make you feel a certain way. It's not going to help you with what the problem you have. It's going to help you feel better about that problem. It's never going to get to that problem because it doesn't know how.
Just-
AI doesn't have, there's the biggest thing, and that's where a lot of people are working. AI will never have emotion
The most difficult-
because emotion can't be qualified.
One of the most
quantified.
difficult things for me to teach, for whatever reason, and it wasn't just exclusive to me, it was many teachers, was problem solving.
Mhm.
And I read up a lot on it, and what I came to the conclusion of through the reading was that problem solving is very limited. So, you'll become an expert in problem solving in your job, and you'll in yours, and you'll in yours, but you're not an expert in his job of problem solving. That's kind of like the way the brain latches on.
Yeah.
What I found with the computer programs that we used in the schools was, as you said, they lack that creative problem-solving skill that as human beings we possess, and we can't even understand it. How
Yeah.
much of our brain power do we use? We already know our brain, but but we have it, and the computers do not. Like you said, the programs that we used to get, they were very limited. I had a student that couldn't do long division. It kept looping him back to easier long division, easier long division. I sat down with him for 2 minutes, and I found out what the problem was. He didn't know how to subtract with regrouping. So that's where his error kept coming from, the second grade skill that he didn't have. Took me 2 minutes. The computer couldn't figure it out. So unless somebody can come up with a way to,
Like I said, you got to
how do you replicate the human's ability to problem solve when we don't even know how we do it? We
I
don't
want to
even know.
jump in and say one
where in the
story
brain
about
that is.
AI. A friend of mine, an acquaintance of mine, who is an expert in her field and has written several books, was playing with ChatGPT when it was first being, introduced, to the general public. And she developed a relationship with this ChatGPT, always talking about the same subject, and was asking and quizzing it and giving it different scenarios. And the final report came back to her. It had changed the quotes from her book to try to appease her,
Yes.
to try to go along with what they thought she wanted it to
Yes.
say.
What you want to hear.
Right.
From her own work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's
Yeah, so that
very
just shows
scary.
you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Very, very
A-
scary.
AI is going to give you
Dumb and
what
down.
you
What you want.
want,
Yes.
Yeah.
gonna-
dumbing it all
yeah.
down.
Regardless if it's correct or not.
Exactly.
Right.
It's going to give you what you want. Because think about it. One of the things, like empathy, if I gave you a scenario where each one of you would have a certain amount of empathy, and then I took that, each one of you's response, turned that into data, fed it into AI, and gave that AI that very same scenario, what it's going to do is say, okay, out of the 20 people, 17 felt this way in empathy, 3 felt this way, 2 felt, it's going to say, well, 17%, which is the largest percentage of the 20, this is the way I feel. That's going to be its basis for the empathy it has for the very, it's just measuring. All it can ever do is that, because the way you feel empathy and the way the person next to you feel it, you cannot quantify it.
Right.
There's no way you can do. I can look at it, I can try to understand it, even as the person is trying to turn that into data to put it into a machine, I can't do it.
The other thing is, it's, you have to, I talked to my daughter about the AI, because she's really a business math person, and I'm not, I'm a literature person. She said, don't do it until you've taken a tutorial on how to ask it.
Right. Yeah,
There's
how-
a certain
yeah.
way you have to
Specific.
approach
Yes.
it, or, I forget the term. she
It's an
used.
analytical term to speak, you have to
Right.
speak with analytics to a machine,
Right,
because everything you say, it takes literally.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like when you're trying to do a Google search, the difference between how you do it when you go to the library and you ask me how to do it.
Mhm.
Okay, I have taken classes in how to do it, how to structure, you know, and the average person only knows it up to a certain point, and then they get bogged down, they get 3,000, or they don't get what they're looking for, or they find out cardinals are birds as well as the sports team, you know, it's that kind of thing. So some of it is also in how you approach it, the protocols that you use, and the way you're structuring, you know, how your interaction with it. But I think the really general ones are the ones we have to worry about. I don't think we have to worry about the really specific ones, like the medical and the educational,
Not
and,
yet.
you know, if they're based on, you know, crops or weather or something like that, well, they keep getting rid of all the things that we need to keep the weather stuff working.
The sales ones, the money-making ones, those are the
Well,
ones we gotta watch out for.
Those are the ones that are probably the most perfected, because that's where the money is.
Yeah, exactly.
Where
Follow,
the money
Think about
is.
it.
once
How-
again, follow the money.
Here we go
We
again.
are just now realizing that when we go to look at stuff, that data is being saved,
Yep.
analyzed, and so
Absolutely.
the next time I flip this phone on, you know, the last thing I was looking
I
at suddenly
think
is
many
the
of us-
first thing.
Is
that
anybody
pops
Many-
else getting freaked out about that?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
I've-
looking
Oh, they've been doing
yeah,
that for
they
years.
know, yeah.
No, but I was looking
Been
at
going
a
on a
book
long time,
yesterday
yeah.
in my living
Yeah.
room that I
Yes.
borrowed from a friend
Yeah.
And you start running
called
back to
Educated.
Yep.
And do you know I was on Amazon
Yeah.
last night and that freaking
That
book
came
came
up?
up? I
Yeah.
was looking at it with my eyeballs
yes,
and
and
my
they got it.
brain.
Yeah.
Let's-
What is
yeah.
Longer than that.
that?
We'll move on from technology after
Wow.
Donna's last.
The last
okay,
thing
go.
I want to say is, again, just what you brought up. I'm using AI right now to help me build a business to help small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And this is with their internet stuff. And I spent 2 days back and forth building an application with it. Yesterday morning, I was sitting on the lanai watching my dogs do their thing, and I get a Gemini Pro thing
Mhm.
on my phone and said, well, we did this yesterday. Are you ready to start working on this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo. Yeah.
Your phone
I'm not
knows.
even gonna
Your
ask
phone
what you
knows
all
more
say
about
was.
you than you ever wanted it to know.
Yes, and AI can go, this is
I
the
do.
other thing that people
Yeah.
don't, I'm sorry.
I do want to start working on those things, but I didn't expect to get
The,
notified
the
of it
phone,
on
the
my
phone, the
Right.
phone knows.
The phone knows.
Yeah.
Hal knows.
Going back to what you,
You
were
remember
talking about,
Hal.
you're not concerned about the medical and the educational side of AI?
As much.
Where they're specifically
Helping humans.
figure out how a disease spreads or what the cause of the disease is.
Or how to
Those
help cure it.
databases, they're coming up with amazing stuff.
Khan Academy is really
Okay, but what
well.
about the nefarious players? I mean, how do you stop them from getting in there? The anti-vaxxers or
The
the spreading
ivermectin people.
disinformation?
Well, they're going to kill us off because they're going to get rid of all the
Oh,
government.
oh,
You
oh,
have to
okay,
know-
right.
Actually,
Speak-
that's very
Yeah.
valid because given what's going on with the FDA
medical-
right now,
Yeah.
with the 2 outbreaks we have in our throughout our food industry, we're way past worrying about it.
Word toast.
Because think about it, you have a person in charge of Mr. Kennedy, that's the secretary. What kind of information is he telling his administration
To advance him politically.
to put into a system that everybody's going to look at, and how biased is that system going to take that
It's
information?
what
If you
his
didn't
word
watch-
tells
yeah.
him to tell them.
If you didn't watch Dan, if you
And
didn't
this
watch
is a man who has brought
Bash's
measles
interview with
back to
him,
the highest rate. We had 30 odd years.
Among other
I mean,
things.
that's a real accomplishment, man.
Gonorrhea.
guys, Susanna,
But-
then
oh.
come.
You just have to know the system that you're using and also make sure that you are aware if it's a good system or a bad system, because you can train AI, it can be a helpful tool, and it can also hallucinate on you. So you
Yeah.
need to double
Yeah,
check into
it's-
how to research and vet your stuff. But it can be very helpful. But it can also hallucinate like it did with Trump
Yeah.
over, and he made up, what, 6 countries in Africa
Yes.
with the Trump administration? So like you have to know.
Or include penguins in your tariff list.
Yeah.
I missed that.
Oh, yeah, there's an
yeah.
island, there are no people, only penguins.
Penguins, yeah.
And it's got 30% tariffs on that.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Now I remember.
I thought that was brilliant.
Like
I
the tariff,
totally forgot.
but there's
Yeah.
a tariff on smoke
It's
coming from
it's
Canada
really
too.
important
So
to
yeah,
read.
don't forget
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Well, it's just silly.
Before we get off AI, I want to say one other
But
thing.
I don't think we're going
And
to.
I don't know if I mentioned this story before, but we were researching, something happened with the air conditioning in the house, and we were thinking it was going to be thousands of dollars. We were researching it on AI as to what could possibly be the problem. And unbeknownst to me, Al had already spoken to somebody else at the company that we called it, the label right on the machine that he had set up an appointment with. And so AI came back and telling us it could be this, or this, but since you already have an appointment with the service person to come to see you, because you give them permission
Yes.
to put out the feelers into all the apps in
Yep.
your phone.
Yes.
Big brother.
So it has
Yeah.
access
Yeah.
to everything.
Wow.
And it was,
TV.
by the way, it was me asking the questions on my phone, but it accessed his calendar from his phone that is not connected to mine, which is scary stuff.
Yeah, privacy,
Yeah,
privacy is
microwaves are watching
dead.
us.
Privacy is dead.
Privacy, there is no such
There is
thing
no
as
such
privacy.
thing as privacy. Your machines know everything.
But I will tell you one thing, it was right about what was wrong.
Let's stop. We have many more topics to talk about,
Died and it need to be replaced.
but let's stop here and we'll pick up the rest next week, including James Carville dismissing Trump as a tired old man who can't be. And James Carville, if you're not aware of the Turks and Caicos theory that the Democrats should all just go to Turks and Caicos and let the Republicans with their circular firing squad kill each other off. Those are things we'll talk about next week. Kathy, quickly, we're running out of time, please.
Abdul El Sayed won.
Yeah, yes,
in
we should know
Michigan.
that. Yes, progressive.
announced
Yep,
it. Yeah.
yep,
You notice
yep.
how many incumbents lost yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah. People are tired of
Taking them all out.
marshmallow, jello-like Democrats, and we need somebody with backbone, and need somebody with backbone in the Republicans as well. At any rate, thank you very much.
He's not a democratic socialist. They have that out there so they can try to smear him, but.
Right,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
going to smear 'em.
They're going to
That
smear him every which way.
bad.
Yeah, they're going to smear him every which way. And
No, but
it could be the
Democrats
balance of the
says one
Senate.
majority.
I'm unhappy that
In
they seem to
majority,
have
one
given
one.
up and assume that Ashley Moody will
Missouri?
win this election here.
Yeah.
But I think that we still need to work hard to defeat Ashley Moody. Ashley Moody is now being tied to the $10 million slush fund.
Yeah.
And there's much to discuss. Join us next week, next Wednesday, same time, same station.
Same bat
And
time.
thank you very much.
Same bat time.
Thanks Suncoast Media,
Yay.
LLC, for their role in creating this vidcast. Thank you. Go safely.
Oh, yes. I have tons of them. And we've been given. I know you're right.